Hey everyone, good evening. I'm Faye Rosenfeld and I am Vice President of Public Programs here at the New York Public Library. And I am so happy to welcome all of you, those of you who are here in the room and also those of you who of course are watching online to Live from NYPL. I'll say it again and again and again, it is so wonderful to be together again. So tonight we are thrilled to welcome Anne Carson back to Live. She is here together with Hilton Als and Sam Anderson for a very special evening of readings and conversation from and about her most recent book, H of H Playbook, a translation of sorts of Euripides' play, Herakles. I'm not going to say much more about the book or anything more about the book because you're all here to hear about it and you'll be hearing about it in just a moment. But I will say that the book is available for purchase from the library shop just outside the room, in the back of the room. And Anne is going to be signing copies afterwards. And all proceeds from purchases made here do benefit the New York Public Library. Of course, you can also borrow H of H Playbook from the library if you have your New York Public Library card, which of course you hopefully all do. Anne is going to be joined on stage by Pulitzer Prize winning writer and New Yorker chief theater critic Hilton Als. They're both going to read from H of H Playbook, after which they'll be in conversation with New York Times Magazine writer Sam Anderson. Anne was born in Canada, as we know from her wonderfully concise bio, and this is a point of great pride among Canadians, of which I actually am one, and so I want to say a special thank you to the Canadian Consulate for providing generous support for tonight's program, especially to Matt McDonald, Head of Cultural Affairs and Creative Industries at the Consulate, who is likewise a great Anne Carson fan, so thank you, Matt. Live from NYPL is also made possible by the continuing generosity of Celeste Bartos, Manasi Spahani Bartos, and Adam Bartos, also the Stavros Niarchos Foundation, and of course by all of you, our wonderful supporters and friends near and far. Thank you for that support and thank you for being here. And please, we hope you come back. We have many, many wonderful programs coming up in June. We have, in honor of Pride, we're marking the 40th anniversary of Gay Men's Health Crisis with an incredible panel of writers led by Bill Goldstein. Bill will be in conversation with Pamela Sneed, Tori Peters, Robert Jones Jr., and Garth Greenwell. We're partnering with Magnum Photos for a program featuring photographers who've been documenting the war in Ukraine, and they'll be speaking with Magnum Foundation President Susan Meisalas. We have our monthly rooftop happy hour right here on our beautiful terrace. This month, we're presenting our happy hour in partnership with the library's Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture. It's going to serve as the kickoff for the Schomburg's annual Lit Fest, which I hope you will all check out as well. And last but absolutely not least, next week on June 9th, the spectacular new exhibition, Lou Reed Caught Between the Twisted Stars, curated by Don Fleming and Jason Stern, is going to be opening at our Library for the Performing Arts at Lincoln Center. So a very special thank you to Laurie Anderson, who's here with us this evening, for making that exhibition possible. And I hope you'll join us for all of this and much more. You can go to nypl.org to learn more and to sign up. Anne, Sam, and Hilton will be glad to take your questions at the end of the program. If you're here with us in the room, you'll see some note cards and pencils on your chairs, and some of our staff will come around to collect them. If you're watching online, you can send your question to us in the chat, or you can email publicprograms@nypl.org. Wherever you are, we would love to hear from you. And with that, let's please welcome Anne Carson and Hilton Als.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. Hilton and I are going to read 3 bits from the book, from H of H. But first, I thought I should say introductory things. So I'll begin with the most general thoughts I have on Greek tragedy, which are brief. Short talk on ancient Greek tragedy, a curious art form. Why does tragedy exist? Because you are full of rage. Why are you full of rage? Because you are full of grief. Ask a headhunter why he cuts off human heads. He'll say that rage impels him, and rage is born of grief. The act of severing and tossing away the victim's head enables him to throw off the anger of all his bereavements. Perhaps you think this does not apply to you. Yet you recall the day your wife, driving you to your mother's funeral, turned left instead of right at the intersection, and you had to scream at her so loud other drivers turned to look. When you tore off her head and threw it out the window, they nodded, changed gears, and drove away. Those are my thoughts on Greek drama. Before we read some sections, I thought I should just summarize the trajectory of meaning of this play, since you may not have read it lately or ever. It's in Greek, it's called after Herakles' name, so Hercules. And as you know, he's a hero of unremitting violence. His main claim to fame is to have performed the famous 12 labors of Heracles, which were acts of murder and atrocity enacted on, theoretically monsters who needed to be removed from the world, but really it was just anybody he didn't like. So 10 years of that sort of activity is the background for this play, and at the beginning of the play he comes back from finishing those labors and is reunited with his family. And the first scene of the play is him joyously reuniting and taking his family into his house to celebrate with them at the hearth, whereupon the play is intersected by a divine act of malevolence. The goddess Hera, who hates Heracles for reasons we don't need to go into, sends madness down on him. He goes mad at the hearth of his house, massacres his own family. So, and falls asleep on stage. So after that, ordinarily the play would end. This is a play that kind of ends in the middle and then goes on weirdly. So he's fallen asleep on stage, and the next part of the play he wakes up, realizes what he's done, and decides on suicide. Whereupon the play is intersected again by an intervention of Theseus, his old friend and former war buddy, and Theseus and he have a long conversation in which Theseus persuades him not to suicide. And that's the end of the play. So they go off together to a sort of very different chapter of Heracles' life. It's a relatively happy ending. Sort of. So first section we're going to read is Hilton impersonating Heracles, and it's just a long monologue in which he tells you about what he's been doing for the last 10 years.
All those years, hitchhiking everywhere, rock, my pillow, rain, my liquor, being told to throw myself into every kind of fire, being given to believe I could burn away the weak parts, keep only one father, God, get rid of the other, the emotional, skip wife, skip kids, steal a Corvette, read dictionaries at night and beat the blue devils, and great acclaim being predicted for me based on my looks alone, and those being good times. So I get done with the labors, I come home, I look in the mirror, and the mirror is uninhabited. No one there. It jars me. I remain in control, but groping, grappling, wrestling with how to think of it. Here's one way. All those years, all those labors, I'm living a completely socialist existence. The labors have to be done, and that is that. The labors tell me when to go to bed, what to eat, what to wear, who to kill, and what's next. Then I come up from hell, labor's done, and they say, magic, 2 o'clock today, you are a capitalist. Figure it out. I find no assistance, only degradation. I know no rules. I am assigned a therapist who tells me I'm fine. I watch myself become debased, hateful, resentful, mean. I yell all the time. You think psychopathy has nothing to do with the capitalist system? You're wrong. Capitalism farts cruelty like gas from a lawnmower. But well, damn, you cannot escape yourself. Temporary depersonalization may be undergone by those who murder. No best mental state murder. Oh, I don't know. I've derived bad habits from a lifetime of labors, but I don't like being evil. It's a dull motherfucker most of the time. Anyway, the labors. Kind of an embarrassment now, but oh, at the time they were grand, and they fitted into the way people lived, the things they believed, like a good war does. Important poets made songs of praise. Some had different versions, different lists, revisions, omissions. I could be exploited so many ways. Canonically, the list was 12. 1. Everyone knows the first one. I wear the skin. That line was, quote unquote, ravaging anemia, is what I was told. Only way to kill a lion is to kill the head. You can lop off legs or paws or eyes or stab the liver, he'll go raging on. Forgive me, Your Excellency, I said, and dashed my club down on the top of the skull, that ridiculous masterpiece of a skull. My club broke in two. I tossed it away. The lion sank dazed to a kneeling position. I leapt over the back, planted my feet on the hind paws, got my arm around the neck, and pressed backward on the throat till breathing stopped. Then came the hard part. That lion's skin proved impermeable to stone or wood or iron. Nothing could, in the end, flay it but the talons of the creature's own paws. This self-sufficiency, I think, made me deeply sad. But flay it I did. Next, you wonder, I was away 10 years. I had to scrape and clean and soak and salt and smoke and dry it. The salting alone is supposed to take a year, and where would I get that much salt in the wilds of Nemea? Plus, you should rub in cornmeal after the salt. No way I could acquire cornmeal. And all the while, I worked on the skin in that metallic stench of lion, kind of like when you lick a battery, if you've ever done that. I felt the creature not exactly near me or around me, but somehow prior to me, unnameable, unconfused, but still dangerous. 2, next they sent me to terrorize the centaurs. Quote, ravaging the plain of Thessaly was the official blah, blah, blah. Centaurs, as you know, are a very early form of cavalry. It's a master design. I love to watch them wheel and sweep around the battlefield, shooting arrows both forward and back. No need for a saddle or stirrups, no waiting to shoot till your horse has all 4 feet off the ground, as a regular cavalryman has to do, or so I've heard. I would have liked to ask them things like that. After I rooted them, I was lonely. Not much to do in Thessaly at night. Do I keep smelling lion? Of course I do. The skull is right next to my face. Too bad I'm not a Christian. I could talk about sacrifice. No, there was no sacrifice. It wasn't even fair. My GPS tracked a hot little red dot across the map. Stumbling into a grove, I confronted 2 huge, unblinking, golden eyes. We were both incredulous. There was nothing to do but strike, so I struck. Score 1 for the hero. Anybody can bring down a deer. It takes a man to kill a varmint, my dad used to say. 3 to 9. Uncharming and uncharmed, those years of mischief, that bestiary, I had to contend with deer, horses, water, snakes, Amazons, pirates, and a dog as big as the door of hell. And let's not forget Atlas, poor hysterical Atlas, condemned by Zeus to carry the heavens on his shoulders for all eternity. There he was against the horizon as I approached. It made the heavens seem low to have this pedestal, but they're not low. They rise up as you come up close, all their skies and stars whirling and above you, and strange winds, now black, now white, that throw new electricity into your every living cell. How do you do it, I said? And he said, well, conscious abandonment of every part of the body in sequence: stomach, soul, palm, eyelid, scalp, tongue, rib, 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 round and round, all the ghastly day long, all the ghastly night. He was not emotionally sound, I think, strung out on lasers and who knows what else. Anyway, he asked me to hold up the sky for a while, and I said, sure, and that's all there was to it. Rumors of an affair or a lot of hijinks with golden apples are just that, rumors, and better left outside, or they'll have you believing I spent a year in women's clothes and servitude to a queen in the Crimea. Well, actually I did, but it was the Crimea. There were complicated reasons, and none of it has any bearing on myself and Atlas, who did not attract me in the least. Holding up the sky for 5 days was a prison, a nightmare I retain even now, and I don't like standing still. What did Atlas do with his free time? Eat sandwiches, I think? I don't know. When he returned, we had a weird conversation about what would happen if he refused to take the sky back. I told him I'd just drop it. He believed me. 12. I'm bored. Let's skip to the end. The final labor was an extraction. They sent me to one of the Western islands to recover a bevy of girls who'd been sold to a brothel. Some took a part chick, one of them saved. They were his cousins. Sounded simple. I located the brothel. It was called the Red Cow. It looked oddly quiet. I drew up a plan, waited for nightfall, and stormed in. First problem, there was no brothel. I get dizzy when I talk about Grayon. I don't like to say the name, but brief pause.
Thank you. The second part I'm going to read is the little song that Madness sings when she descends onto Hercules. But a strange thing about the representation of madness in this play is that Sophocles makes it a double goddess, a schizoid persona who is called Iris and Madness. I don't know why he does that. Iris, of course, is conventionally the messenger god. Also, the word means rainbow. But here she's part of Madness. Enter Iris and Madness from above. Hello, I'm Iris and Madness. 1 and 1 is 2. I'm here to puncture H of H's life and roller skate right through. H of H's name means Hera's glory. Confusing backstory. Hera hated H of H from the moment he was born, but Zeus was his sunshade while he ranged the alien corn. And the labors went on. Now the labors are done, and rounding the turn of his terminal lap, H of H comes into the full glare of Hera's man-trap. She wants to stampede him through the blood of his own children. As Iris, I'm all for this. As Madness, I keep wondering. Do you think it odd that Madness has a psyche? That Iris goes split-brain, quoting Nietzsche on the Abyss? Well, we are what we are. My feminine candor bids me inform you that dressed as an electrical storm, I, Iris and Madness, shedding the still air, plan to part the heart of H and break everything in there. And lastly, we'll read together a bit of dialogue from the final scene where Theseus comes on and talks to Heracles. H of H, look at me. Unwrap your head.
Cover me, night. Hide the miscreant.
You don't need night.
You saw what I did.
Saw what you did.
I am a contamination.
You can't contaminate me.
Do you know a calamity greater than mine?
Yours grazes the sky.
I mean to die.
Well, there's different ways of beating the treadmill.
Go back to the nothingness whence I came.
That has the ring of cliché.
Easy for you to say.
I've a better idea, not unrelated. I'm thinking T-shirt. Lion skin background. You wear it, you shoot yourself, I sell it, say Sotheby's, bullet hole and all.
You joke while I'm stuffed with woes, no room for more.
No joke, we put I hate fear on the back. Small font, Helvetica bold.
You reckon not the war I waged against my sons.
But your dad's still around, we could cut him in.
I can't hear you for tears.
Is this the all-enduring H of H?
Not quite all anymore.
Hero and benefactor of mankind.
Mankind gave not a fart for me.
You mean your luck ran out?
Luck? Luck? Let me tell you about luck. From day one.
No, stop. Don't rehearse the labors. They're legend. It's over. We're over. Hera, who invented herself, is over. I don't judge you. I'm not saying move back towards life. I'm saying the future is not elsewhere. We're in a locked spaceship, H of H. We have nothing but continuing. What could be more useless than you limping off stage to die in a dead language? Of course, the guys upstairs would love that. Your gods crafted a soul too big for the space of life they gave you to live in. You smash anything that smells like an enemy. Then your smell goes haywire and you can't stop. Don't be stupid, H of H. You are organized violence. You think any of this is unexpected upstairs. Remember Chernobyl. The physicists were told to phone their wives and say, wash your hair, darling, take in the laundry and drink 2 drops of iodine in a glass of water. Everyone called them heroes. Suffering like that, you need old words. Next day, all the books on radiation vanish from the Chernobyl library. I'm just saying, you call them gods, they call you walking ash.
I should have left you in the chair of forgetfulness.
Maybe you did, Daddy-o, maybe you did.
One correction, I don't call them gods. If God exists, God is a perfect thing, not some hooligan from bad daytime TV.
So, the future, what's next for H of H?
I don't know, jump from a cliff, stab myself in the liver, burn this flesh away with fire, and cleanse myself of infamy?
I had in mind Athens.
I can't just spin the dial, choose a life.
Why not? Forget suicide. Leave Thebes. Follow me.
I push into the surface evil. I pull out of the surface evil.
Athens will purify your hands and you.
What about my weapons? What about the lion skin?
Keep them. They're you.
Come one of those nights, I just have to open a valve.
For now, you need a friend.
I cannot rise. Too heavy with filth and sin.
Give me your hand.
I'll stain you.
I'll take it.
Let me kiss my dad one more time?
No,
But I must.
no.
All the labors I endured were less than this.
Don't go all tearful on me now.
Hold on. Theseus, who saved your ass in hell, who was tearful then?
You did. I was. But you have no past anymore.
You know what? The truth is, even in hell, I thought you were amazing.
Take my arm.
You're my tugboat now.
So we go.
Go.
Forward only.
Forward only.
We go in grief, we go in tears, so many swift and dirty years. We've lost a man of greatest merit, truly a devil of a spirit, our greatest, our most legendary friend. The end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eek.
Right. Beautiful and strangely uplifting ending. I told Anne my reaction to reading this book, which is really brilliant, by the way, and well, as you just heard, but it's brilliant in other ways than what you could hear. I told Anne my reaction when I read it was, you're such a goofball.
That's not
And she
unaccepted.
said, no, I'm not.
No,
She
I
didn't say that.
didn't say that. I just pointed out it's not an accepted critical term.
Does that strike you as true? Is Ann Carson a goofball? Do you pick up on that, or is
Well,
that something?
I'm pre-programmed to run to a lady's defense.
Okay.
So no.
No. No.
I think that she has a what Marion Moore called style, and her definition was that it was the radiograph of the soul. And so Anne's writing to me is her soul, and I don't think it's goofy or odd. I think it's just her.
I won that
I'm
one.
flirting mercilessly. All I want is her approval.
That's great. I should say I'm Sam Anderson. I had the great privilege of writing a profile
It's
of Ann
beautiful.
Carson.
It's so beautiful to read it. A New York Times piece.
Yeah.
People should look it up.
Thank you.
And if you do, you'll learn a lot more about basketball than you expected.
You always talk about this.
Well, most of the interview is he and Curry talking about basketball. I was sitting offside making the odd ironic comment, but really nothing substantial.
There's really amazing currents and undercurrents of psychology happening with this whole thing that we don't have to get into, but we didn't talk about basketball much. I have the transcript. I've read it over and over. So, but you always bring that up. Anyway, it was my great privilege. I'd been reading Anne for decades and finding her brilliant. I was able to profile her. She was extremely reluctant to be profiled, but she finally agreed. And
Because I knew we'd only talk about basketball. It was fine. But he always wants to work in, what is it you call it, the ineffable? No, the on something.
The unfathomable?
No, it's about expression. Unsayable.
Like Heracles.
Well, okay. Okay, let's get
To bring it
control.
back to
Let's
the-
get control. I'm supposed
To
to be
bring it back
moderating.
to the subject.
Yes, we should.
Yeah.
I was able to profile the brilliant Ann Carson. I'm so honored to be up here. I've been reading Hilton for so many years also, and I just want to facilitate these two brilliant people speaking up here tonight. So
It's great to meet you too, Sam.
It
You're
is
such a
great to
wonderful
meet you.
writer.
thank you.
And also, this has been going on, and how long has this been planned? 2 years?
Yeah, since before COVID.
Yeah.
And then
And then,
it
so
didn't
this is a
happen.
wonderful moment.
Long time coming.
Yeah.
So you all heard how brilliant that was. There's a lot more brilliance in this book. If you don't have your hands on it, get your hands on it, because this book is an experience that goes far beyond words. It is full of Anne's art, of her very distinctive mark making and painting. I have my own theories about that and theater, but I won't get into that. But for instance, the title page here, which says H of H Playbook, features these two handwritten H's, which are so striking and elegant. And I fell in love with these H's the moment I saw them. And I was wondering if you could just tell us about these H's.
I love to use my ruler. You hardly ever get to use your ruler in art because you're not supposed to make perfectly straight lines. Actually, they're not very perfectly straight, but I did enjoy that page.
For ruled lines, they have a lot of little curly bits at the end and kind of squiggles.
Yeah, I was trying to make it humane.
Okay. So I was wondering if maybe you could tell us about this book as an object and where it came from, because this published book is a kind of adaptation or translation of something that existed in a different form.
Yeah. Well, I made the book because we were in Iceland we go to Iceland a lot, and we were there for 3 months, and we rented an apartment that had an extra room. So I got to make the room a study, and since I had a room, I thought I would try to make a work in the room in the time that we were there. So I bought this empty book. I mean, I bought it when it was empty, and put things in it that I was drawing at the time, and then added the translation together. I don't know why, but what was interesting to me in making it was how the thinking moved in both directions, sometimes from the words to the images, sometimes from the images to the words. And it's a different kind of thinking you do in
Yes.
images, but equally real.
Yes. I think also, not to use an overused word, but it's illustrative of how a synthesis can happen between what the eye sees and what the ear hears. And so when Anne first approached me about this project, she sent me the book and she said, you should read Heracles. How could you find the script in this book? You have to kind of go through the book and wait for Anne to make the decision about the character in a certain way. You're hearing many different kinds of voices, visual and verbal. And it's a wonderful freeing agent, I think, particularly for writers, to let you know that you can think in different kinds of words, and then for visual artists, that they can think in language, too. So it's a great primer, I think. See, I'm flirting. Isn't it outrageous?
Oh, it's not.
Yeah.
It's electric. My hair is standing up here.
So.
Yeah, a kind of Anne Carson motto, as I've come to think of it, is a line from the introduction to your translation of Sappho. And if you haven't read Anne's translation of Sappho, it is famously full of these brackets, these sets of brackets that are set way across the page, and the brackets indicate portions of the original text that are missing. And so Anne chose, instead of, as some translators have done, kind of smoothing over or filling in the absent parts of Sappho, Anne chose to really foreground those absences and show them to us on the page as brackets. And in the introduction to that translation, in explaining her method, she says a very short sentence that I love and that I think is kind of almost an artistic mission statement for Anne, which is, brackets are exciting.
Oh, that's great.
Right? And so to me, that means brackets stand for anything that is absent. And Anne's art, to me, is this art that is obsessed with the reality of absence and the gravity of absence. And that can be silence, that can be death, that can be the absence of a person, that can be the absence of a stage setting, of actors, of human beings who once wrote these words that we're reading now. So brackets are exciting. And so I think of every Anne project as a kind of another working out of that thesis that brackets are exciting. And so reading this, I was thinking, of course, of the nature of theater and how theater itself is, by definition, as a text, missing something.
Right.
Right?
The actor rewrites immediately. You have to be self-assured enough as a writer to give them the script and know that they're going to rewrite it. And you can see it happening physically. It's really kind of alchemy that's profound. And if you give the actor the script, what they're listening for is what's not there, that they're going to put down in their own words and body movements and gestures and feelings. I remember this really wonderful conversation with Toni Morrison. There was some young filmmaker was doing an adaptation of one of her books, and she said, "Oh, but Hilton, they've taken the guts out." And I said, "Right, that's the actor's face. It's not your language. It's what the actor can do with this or movement or voice." And I think that Anne is such an eminently playable writer because she leaves them alone. You know, she knows when to exit and to let them write the rest of it.
I wish I did.
I think you do, from what I've seen.
Yeah, well, maybe. With the Sappho, that's out of my hands. I mean, the missing parts are really missing, but I think my effort over the years has been to try to make more and more, in my own writing, make more and more of it be missing. Because it's wonderful how that gives to the reader the space for thinking their own thinking.
Yeah, it's interesting too that it's if you think about great writers like that who can leave space for the reader, not to make too fine to point it, but they're almost all women writers who can do that. And well, there's Joan Didion, right? She'll have a line and leave it to. There's you. There's Elizabeth Hardwick. There's, in terms of playwriting, there's Marie Irene Fornes. There's Adrienne Kennedy. There can be clusters of words and then nothingness. So anyway, let's just say that these are among my favorite writers who can leave the text to my imagination.
It's hard to do.
Very, because you have to shut up.
You do, and it's interesting with the Sappho. I've told this anecdote several times, maybe to some of you, but often I get in the mail letters from people who say, "I really love the Sappho. The brackets are wonderful. All that space, that empty space, you give validity to the what's lost." And here, in the attached document, I have filled in all the brackets with what should be there.
What I thought, yeah.
What I thought. So it's something, it's fearful to leave those spaces.
Yeah. And also I think, again, you have to kind of be self-assured enough to leave them, right? That prose writing certainly is about explication and explanation on a level that's very different than poetry, where poetry really is the short line and you have to kind of make a world. Another reason that I love reading poetry and poets for the stage is that we don't, unlike our business, Sam, or nobody ever asks if it's true or false. It's just happening. And that's another thing that I've learned.
I wanted to ask a linguistic question, which is, I lost it. What is the ancient Greek original for capitalism farts out cruelty like a broken lawnmower?
Well, it's a little different. I didn't say it was a translation, did I? I said something else. A sort of.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Sort of.
So
yeah.
that's the sort of part.
Yeah, Hilton, I was wondering if you could speak to, I mean, we were talking earlier about Antigone and about the age of Antigone and the range of actors who could play Antigone, because it's never specified. And we're saying, well, it could be a middle-aged woman.
girl,
Juliette Binoche did it.
Yeah.
And Anne said, well, in the original days,
it would be a middle-aged man
yeah,
doing the role. I was having dinner with a great actress and a great friend, and I said, you should do Antigone. And I said, before you go into actress drama, I'm too old. I said, no one ever says, that she and her sister are of a certain age. They say girl, and that's what we know. So wouldn't it be nice to see an actress of particular experience do this role, because she would have more of a feeling for family, what family meant. And so I think that hopefully after these kind of very bad years for actors and theaters and producers, that there's less of a mindset about what's possible on stage. I stopped reviewing theater regularly a couple of years ago because I was in such dismay about the limitations when I saw what was possible was much bigger than what I was seeing on stage. And it wasn't fair really to the actor anymore that I was writing about it. It wasn't their problem. It was mostly a production or producer problem. So I'm hoping that in these times that we've learned something from that, and that there can be more interpretive value put on the text, and that there can be different roles for women in particular.
Yeah, and I think that all points to the fact also that, we have a sense of kind of reverence and purity of the original or something, but when you look at the actual history of a play like this, which has come down to us in all kinds of mediated, strange ways, the original history of that performance is also quite strange and alien and impure, if we want to put it like that. So it is kind of ripe to be reinterpreted and played with and corrupted and whatnot.
Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome.
I can't argue with
It was
that.
my pleasure.
You're right about Antigone, though. The word girl isn't used. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And it's true they are unmarried, but
Yes.
they're also unmarriageable, so they would have been unmarried
That's right.
forever. So it could be any age.
I think,
And it would be poignant to have them be actually already aged.
and I think it's one of the horrors of the business that actresses in particular just get better as they get older, because there's just more life to draw on, and they get less work because they're older. So one of the things I think a script like Anne's Antigone could do really is kind of reverse our casting. It leaves a lot of brackets. Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you want to talk about?
Basketball? Triple doubles?
No, actually, I want to hear about, and we're going to get to audience questions in a minute, but if my math is right, this play was first performed 2,438 years ago.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And I love the specificity of that. I love that we know it's not, around 2,000, 2,500, 2,438, which suggests quite a lot to me, that specificity.
Like what?
Like that, the kind of mind-blowing fact that it happened during an actual year in which human beings, much like us, gathered together with their bodies, guided by their minds, and used their voices to read in a language that we don't know how it sounds out loud. These lines, some version of these lines, to other humans who heard them with their human ear holes and reacted with their own voices and bodies. The specificity of that, I don't know if you all are feeling this right now, I am, but the specificity of that is quite amazing and leads back, I think, to this brackets thing. Brackets are exciting. Like the absence of that humanity, of that moment 2,438 years ago when this was first staged, of that culture that all those people came from, is such a big set of brackets and is so profound, and is kind of the ground against which we read something like this. So even taking on a project like this is quite a profound thing.
But everything you said about it there was a denial of brackets. You were saying ears, body, same body.
Yeah.
You're talking about relevance.
Right. You're saying I am disregarding the brackets by identifying with those people.
No, I'm not. Well, I'm not disregarding. I'm not saying you're disregarding. I'm just saying you're interested in the identification of them with us.
Yeah, I mean, there is identification, but there's also this profound alienation and this huge gulf.
The gulf of time.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, this discussion, because it's like a teacher-student discussion where, tell me more. The facts are, But it's. I wanted to ask a question, Sam, in that vein, about the production of the book. And how long did you work on this project?
I did it in those 3 months we were there, didn't I? Yeah, in Iceland. And then it took, to find a way to reproduce it took longer, but I did the pages in those 3 months.
And I know that you both spent time in Iceland. I've always longed to go. Can you tell me why? Why Iceland?
Well, A, the landscape, B, the people.
Yeah.
C, we bought a flat there.
Yes. How about you, Sam?
You
You like it too?
I do like it a lot. Yeah, probably mostly for the puffins. I've really been into puffins since I was a little kid. So I went to see puffins, and the landscape, the people, the feeling of being, the feeling of remoteness.
Yeah.
I like that feeling a lot. Being in a society that is contained on this small island, that when you're not there feels almost unreal and impossibly distant. It's kind of a bracket thing too.
But also a writer thing, right? That
Yeah.
You know, that sort of to detach.
Mm-hmm.
Is
You gotta go.
Is important to us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's full of emptiness,
Yeah, it's full of emptiness.
and that's a good thing.
And what's the deal with the flaps in your book? You have all these funny little flaps.
Not all these. There are 3 at the beginning and 3 at the end.
Student teacher
I was about to
again.
say, Professor
Ouch, yeah.
Carson. Ouch. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they might as well be accurate. But they came, it's a mistake. I did something, it's a book, obviously I bought the book, and it had a certain number of pages in it, and I didn't count the pages when I started, and I didn't count the pages of my translation. I just actually worked by opening the book to the middle, opening the text of the Hercules to roughly the middle, and then making that something on the middle part of it work, and then going in either direction, hoping that it would fit in the pages that were left to the beginning and the end. And when I got to the beginning, it didn't quite fit. I had to rip out one, and then had to rip out another. So I ripped them sort of in shapes, and then I thought, I can make this look like art by doing it again at the end. I did 3 at the end, so there are 3 at the beginning, 3 at the end. And it looks intentional.
Yes.
Huh.
I thought there was one in the middle.
No, there, I don't
I'm going
think
to
there's
find one.
any
You're
other.
going to feel so silly.
Want to
I've
talk
got-
about basketball now?
Yes.
Were you safe?
I've got questions from the audience.
Oh, okay.
Let me ask a question from H of H first, because it really it captured my imagination. This is a line from H of H, if you haven't read it. Why is light emotional?
Isn't that nice? I like that line, and I don't know why I wrote it, but my friend Ragnar Kjartansson in Iceland also quoted it to me. So I thought, okay, good line.
Yeah.
It is a good line.
Yeah, I don't know any more about it than that.
Okay. Hilton, why is light emotional?
Ooh. Eek. Mood, I think. It affects I like Northern Californian light
Yeah, it's the good stuff.
because it changes so dramatically in the course of a day, and it affects where I'll be emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Iceland light is remarkable.
Yeah.
Being an island, you get light from all sides.
Yes. Yes.
And often it's because of the midnight sun thing, it's not overhead light, it's slanty.
Yes.
And it does change your mood, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, this is what the audience wants to know. Ready?
Ready.
This is for both of you. I like how this is written. What on earth is your notebook like? You want to start, Hilton? Do you keep a notebook?
I do. Oh, you don't want to know.
What on earth?
Oh, it's a mess. It's I don't ever read them. I write the thing down, and it's because it had some significance to me. It was a dream or a conversation, and I never look at it again.
Is
And
it a
it's
diary type thing?
kind of, but it doesn't really function as a diary because it's not, daily. But it's a way of remembering who I was, that person I don't want to look at anymore.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he's there. I'm happy, but stay over there.
Woo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're kind of downloading yourself and then
Oh, that's a very clever way of putting it, Sam.
pushing it aside.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Carson, same question. What on earth is your notebook like? Kind of like this, right?
Yeah, some are. Yeah, some are just writing, but often they have stuff pasted in. And sometimes when they were in my youth, I used them as diaries, trying to tell myself the story of being me, I guess. And I made a lot of them at that time in this form with all pictures on every page and glued in stuff. But yeah, they're not really that interesting.
Okay. This is sort of an abstract question. How do you think about the structure of time in H of H?
I have no idea how I think about the structure of time. I guess it's sort of a big bubble for him. I'm not sure that it's, as I said when I spoke earlier, it's a strange play because it breaks in half. When he kills the family and lies on the stage, he looks as if he's dead and he might as well be dead.
Yeah.
And in another tragedy, he would be dead. So time, in a way, stops there, and the structure of the play breaks down. In fact, the whole convention of Greek tragedy breaks down because Greek tragedies, as you know from studying them, aren't supposed to have a happy ending. So that whole section of time where he wakes up and decides to die and then decides to live again is sort of outside the time of his proper life,
Yeah.
the proper time of the play. So I guess it's a broken structure with an afterword that shouldn't exist, if that's a structure of
I
time.
wonder if the unusualness of it has to do with the fact that we assume with Greek tragedy always that catharsis is going to be built in, but that's for us. And in this play, there's not really catharsis, but there's a release for the hero,
Yes.
right, or anti-hero. So his catharsis precedes ours, and it's a reversal. Usually the characters are in service to our feeling
That's true.
release or better in some way. And in this play, it's the anti-hero who has a release, and we're kind of left in doubt, I think, as the audience members or readers.
Yeah, it is hard to imagine his life in Athens after
Yeah,
having murdered his family.
yeah.
And I don't know, I've never quite understood what catharsis is. I guess it's just you go through it with them.
Yes, it's sort of, trying to think of a really good example is, like, let me think of a really good, it'll come to me, but I'll think of a really prime example of how we feel something. I remember my mother had gone back to school after she finally got us all out of the house. She went to Mega Evers in Brooklyn, and she was, this is a true story, I was in my room or something, and she said, oh, look, I'm reading these plays, and it was Oedipus, and she said, I really don't understand the conflict. It was so beautiful to me because it was just like a family to her, and that these things happen in a family.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
they
so
do.
the catharsis that she was supposed to feel as a reader or a student or whatever was just not present to her because it was a family.
She was identifying totally.
Yeah, that she had, seen this person be
Yeah,
kind of
catharsis
ruined.
requires them to be
Separate.
different
Right.
from yourself.
Right.
Yeah. And you are cleansed.
Yes. Gospel at Colonus.
Oh, yeah.
You have a feeling of catharsis then, at the end of that piece. Music
you
helps.
do.
Music helps.
Yeah, music really
for sure.
helps.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a choir like that.
Yes.
All right, this kind of connects to that. This is a question about hope, which is an idea that recurs in H of H.
Yeah.
So the questioner asks, what is hope? And then there are several options. A valve, a trick, a lifesaver.
They were really listening.
A valve.
A valve, I think.
Not sure what that would mean, though.
A
Something
valve.
like the release lever. That's how I was reading it.
Is the ending a hopeful ending? Is going to Athens a hopeful?
Yes, well, it is for the audience would have been Athenian, and their idea of their city is that it's the ideal place of civilized political and social life. So to have him reclaim himself by being gathered into the population of Athens is for them a happy ending. And I guess for us too. I mean, he doesn't die. It's something to
hope for.
hope for, but also to hope that you'd have the energy of soul to want to not die after
Yes.
doing that.
Yes.
Yeah, seems hopeful to me.
To not die of a broken heart
Yeah.
about something that you can't.
Or to leave your broken heart there and step on
Yes.
somewhere else.
Yes.
As 21st century North Americans, reading this play, reading about hope in a 2,400-year-old play written in a civilization that has collapsed and crumbled and transformed into something else. I wonder how hope functions. I wonder what hope is for us, because we read Heracles' exit to Athens as going to a place that no longer exists, right?
I don't know. Here we are talking about it.
An eternal Athens of the mind.
Well, everything's an idea of the mind, isn't it? It's, physically it's not there as it was, but so what?
Right.
Well, even the ideals of democracy of good old Athens are looking a little shabby these days.
Well, yes.
Yes.
I don't really think we can solve that.
Right
This
here tonight?
conversation, yeah.
Okay,
But we can
fine.
dream.
Bit too broad for
Yeah.
me.
We can dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fine. Let's find another question. How are we doing on time, event organizers? Total silence. Brackets. Brackets are exciting.
I can't really see the.
You, parentheses Anne, described H of H as a translation. Is it meaningful for you to choose that term over, for instance, the term adaptation?
Well, I didn't say translation, I said sort of translation.
Right, you
I
qualified.
think that's significant.
But you did use the word translation.
Yeah, well, adaptation, it doesn't really matter. It's a way of reading what's there, I would say, but that's kind of a clumsy phrase, so sort of translation is instead of that,
Rather than,
rather than.
yeah.
Adaptation is okay. I'm not against adaptation.
Yeah.
Okay. Anne says she made a mistake. She should have called it an adaptation. That's what I heard you say.
I've just let that go.
All right. I got an official wave from the crowd, which means that our event has come to a close.
Oh,
So I want to
Wow.
thank you all for coming, and I
That
want
was
to thank Anne Carson and Hilton Als for doing this really brilliant event. Thank you. And Anne will be signing books, so go buy a book.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.